Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you watched the last video, then you kind of recognize this screen, but if this is your first time here, this is basically where I left off at in my last video when I showed you the process of coming up with a few logo design concepts. Now at the very end of that video, I kind of said that I was just gonna sit on it and make my decision as to which logo I would decide to continue with for the rest of the branding process. And after reviewing the brief a little bit more, kind of going over some of the aspects that I needed to keep in mind, I decided to go with the first one. Maybe you're wondering, like, I was actually between the first and the fourth one. The first one had like this one here, and then this number 4 down here that was really very simple and stuff like that. But I kind of felt that it might have been a little bit too simple, and maybe it didn't really give off that like cozy home kind of a feel. Whereas this one, the first one, had more of that cozy home kind of a feel, but there were still some modifications and tweaks that I wanted to do to this logo. Unfortunately, for some reason I didn't record me making those tweaks. I think I just wanted to try one thing, and then one thing led to another, and before you know it, I had all this work done and I hadn't recorded it. So I'm just gonna go through this presentation and show you exactly what I did. Into this mode here. All right, so this is what the logo design ended up being at the end of the last video. So the first thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to add a little bit more customization to the font that I used. I mean, even though I already did the ampersand part of it, but I really like some of the inspiration images that I had found that had that kind of that wave in some of the capital letters. So this is me just kind of playing around with that aspect of it without taking off that middle bar in the H. And then my next progress was, okay, one of the things that they had mentioned in their brief is they wanted something in their logo that represented both the holly and the pine branch or leaf or something like that, whatever you want to call it. And the way the logo was before, it only had something referring to the pine aspect of it. So here I am just kind of playing around with like, okay, how can I incorporate a holly leaf into it, and then keeping it kind of semantic where the holly leaf goes with the word holly and the pine goes with, you know, the pine word. So that's what this one is. And then I just kind of, I had taken away, like, I only just put the other one over top of the actual font, and then I actually outlined the font and took off the little dot on the lowercase I. I thought taking it to a lowercase just added a little bit more personality to the design. But there's something about this that I was still kind of like, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of. So first of all, I took off the extra little pine images, icons around the ampersand because I thought it was a little bit too much. And I spaced out the pine needles here in that lowercase I. And I'm like, okay, something is just still not looking right. So then I decided to match that lowercase I kind of concept in the word holly, but I didn't want to do it over top. I don't know, I don't really know why I thought that, but I was like, okay, well, let's just do it on the bottom just to do something a little bit different. So that's what I did on this version. But then I didn't like the fact that it was solid. I thought it took away from your focus on the words holly and pine. So I switched that holly leaf to an outline. And then in this one, I was like, well, do I really like that the ampersand is so big compared to the words? And so I played with the sizing and kind of made it, you know, in the same height as the capital letters, and kind of like that better in this horizontal version. So then it was time to go to a more vertical format of this logo. And so this was my first try at it, just seeing what it looked like center aligned. Not the biggest fan of how this turned out. So then I started to go with a, you know, a, what do you call it, left aligned kind of format, I guess. And it was okay. But there was something about the bottom part that I wasn't a huge fan of. So here I am, I played with the sizing and brought back in that other size of the ampersand, which actually I liked a little bit better. But what I didn't like was the size of these little pine cone icon over that lowercase I. So for this one, I decided to take out one of those kind of V shapes in that pine, and then I was able to kind of make the ampersand, because I was trying to achieve the height of the ampersand to be the same as the height of the lowercase I to the top of that pine needle, and it seemed, you know, I liked how it looked a little bit better. So then I had to go back to that horizontal version and then just change back the lowercase I to the version that had the 3 V shapes on there. So that was where I had left off, but I still had more to kind of to do in terms of building out the brand a little bit more. So in this next part that I have already pre-recorded, I still need to go ahead and make more of a almost like a profile image, a mark, and as well as a favicon. And so I'll go through that, and then also want to kind of find a color palette for this brand. And then I thought I would focus on designing some of the website elements, since Holly and Pine primarily is a blog, a home decor blog. I thought it might be better to focus on that and then move into some other things like that are more social media related or print related, like business cards. So with that being said, let's get into the actual continuation of this. Okay, so here I am. I think I was just redoing that last little bit that I already explained, where I changed to the 3 V's on the horizontal format. Now I'm just trying to do a bit of a mark that can be used basically as like a social media profile icon. I had that one version and I was like, oh, it's okay, but I want to try something else. So I did this kind of a version, kind of on a circle, and then just rotated the circle a little bit, which I liked a lot better. But then I tried to, I wanted some more spacing in between those icons and the outline of the circle, which I liked a lot more. So I brought down, you know, just separated the two that I liked a lot more. And now it was me trying to figure out what to do for a favicon. Now, in hindsight, I don't know, this is not my favorite idea, but I was like, I don't know what to do. It has to be really simple and stuff like that. And I kind of wanted to keep it semantic because holly comes first. I wanted the holly leaf to show up on the left side and then the pine next to it. So here I am. I've got everything, you know, kind of on my artboard, saving everything before something happens. And now I'm just pulling in from my Pinterest board some of these color palettes that I was kind of looking at. I have a tendency to like save all these color palettes, and then from there I kind of take the colors that I like the most and piece them together and see how they work. So here I am just playing around with that mark and the colors. Now, even though I saved that really light blush pink, I actually liked that, you know, that really light blue-gray color better with the green. So I decided to take out that pinky color and then leave that lighter blue-gray. And then here I am just trying to experiment and figure out what I want to do for some buttons. I kind of wanted to stick to a Google font just so that there's no issues when it comes to creating and editing the website. Usually I find that a lot of things have like plugins and stuff like that. There's more access to the Google fonts than other ones. I'm just trying out this idea here with the bars on the side. And then I wanted to, so I'm going back to the brief just to see what it is. I think I went back to see what social media platform she was involved with or wanted to get involved with. And I wanted to do something with a script or a handwritten type of font as a bit of an accent. So again, back into the Google font so there's no issues, just in case we decide. And I think it is something that I will prepare is some Canva templates so that she can easily edit these without having the knowledge of using the Adobe Creative Cloud programs. And all right, so I did have a bit of an issue. My Illustrator crashed on me. And of course, because I hadn't saved it since saving that group of logos on the board, I basically had to redo everything, and added a few extra things. I added those social media icons because I know it's something that I want to work with. And I also kind of reworked this favicon thing because I wasn't really liking the two leaves, and I think I actually like it with the H and P a lot better. So the colors aren't exactly what I ended up with, but pretty close. And same, same with these kind of buttons that I was working on towards the end. It's not exactly what I ended up with in the last part. So I just kind of selected that color palette just so that I know that that is what I want to work with. And then, so these were kind of like those little buttons that I kind of ended up with, even though when I redid it, I ended up changing the font on it. And then what I was trying to do before Illustrator crashed on me was do this kind of a concept where I had an accent font in the script, and then that serif font in capitals. So now I'm just playing with some other ideas that she could use on her website. What I had thought about, and now I'm just playing with the social media icons, but what I was doing before is trying to do something, you know how on the bottom of some websites they show those your thumbnails from your recent Instagram posts. That's what I was working on, that one. And then this one is just creating some header borders for the sidebar. I wasn't a huge fan of those gold boxes. I thought this might be a little bit more simpler and minimal. And then here I am, I figured maybe it was better to do it this way, where these category buttons were in those boxes instead. And then just playing with some different colors. So basically she has 4 different options to choose from when she's or somebody else is doing the website. And now just creating some dividers for her. Bringing that one of those first designs, sketches that I had done with a pine, and now just kind of modifying a little bit more so that it matches the actual pine needle icon that I started using in the logo. Trying to figure out what was missing and realized that I didn't have the social media icon for YouTube, because that is a platform that she is wanting to start getting into a little bit more. And then I was looking on my little list that I made up, seeing, okay, what else that I wanted to do. And I remembered that I wanted to create these custom pin this images to go on her, graphics to go on her images, instead of using the typical red Pinterest icon. A lot of experimentation. I really didn't know what I wanted to achieve with this. Just something very simple, something that matched her branding. But then I also had to keep in mind that it's one thing to have this over a white screen. It's another thing to have this over top of an image. So I'm like, how is this going to look? So I really like those outline ones, and maybe it will work. But then I thought this one with the colored square might work better on the actual image, just because some of them are going to be busier than others. And just playing with some colors right now to see what I like, and just pull those two up a little bit more as options that I think are kind of finalists, I should say. And anyways, this is what I ended up coming up with. So we've got the color palette that I wanted to do, the building out of these icons so that I have the marks and the favicon, and then as for website elements, I wanted to do the sidebar, header, kind of title graphics, and the category buttons for the sidebar. The ones that I did, let's say with the living room, kitchen, and all that stuff, I thought it would be neat to have that as her one of her menus. And then towards the bottom, just having these little header buttons as well, for if she wanted to show a preview of her any of her social media channels. And then I've got the custom pin this for her images that she's got on each blog post. A couple of options for dividers in case she needs to separate out some content. And then these social media icons that I wanted to keep simple. I also wanted to make sure I was following each of these platforms' brand guidelines. because I noticed that there are a lot of people that use modifications of these, and those modifications are actually not what the brand wants you to do with their logo. So that's why I didn't. So I mean, a lot of people with the Pinterest, they use just the P by itself and not this circle, and actually that is something that it says not to do in their brand guidelines. So yeah, so that is what I'm doing. I did the Facebook one, but technically Facebook isn't a platform that she is on. I just did it just in case, but for now we are just going to use these 3 if she ever needs to design the website. In next week's video, I'm probably going to be working on some YouTube animations, an intro title screen for her YouTube channel, and then maybe even a lower third. I'm not too sure yet. I'm still thinking about it, but it is one of the things on my list of assets that I want to do for this brand. And so I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will see you next week.